Hello and welcome to my channel Crochet and Copy. My name is Judy. Today I'm going to show you how to make this lovely cardigan. Let's get started. These are the measurements for our cardigan. So these are supplies we're going to be using to make our cardigan. I go over them with you. The yarn we're using is the K&C, it's the knit and crochet. It's 80% acrylic and 20% alpaca. It's the super bulky number 6 and the color is charcoal. That's our yarn, and we're going to be using our hook is the L11. It's the 8.00 millimeter. We're going to be using a few of our stitch markers, a yarn needle, and lastly our scissors. We're going to be using 9 balls of yarn to complete our project. Mine though, with the bulky 6 alpaca yarn, it sheds when you work with it, and when you put on your cardigan it has weight to it. You know, like those weighted blankets, it has that weight to it. So keep that in mind when you're working with it. So we're going to start by making the back panel first of our cardigan, and to start off we're going to chain 45. So to do that, this is how I do my slip knot stitch. I take the yarn, drip it over my 2 fingers, let it fall to the back, take my hook, and I pull up that yarn between my 2 fingers, and I have a knot, and just tighten it against my hook. That's it. So now you're going to chain 45 times. A chain is yarn over your hook and pull through. That's it. Yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. That's it. So continue doing that for 45 times and I'll meet you there. So that's how it looks when we do our 45 chain. Now the pattern we're going to do for row 1 to complete it, we're going to be working in the back part of our chain, because this is how the chain look in the front, but we want to use the back part, the little bumps that we have in the back here. So the first thing we're going to do is skip that first chain, and the second chain from our hook, we're going to use that, and we're going to do a slip stitch in there. A slip stitches go into that chain, but remember the back part of it, and then you're going to put a loop of yarn in your hook, and you're going to pull across 2 loops that you have on your hook, and that's it. And this is the pattern we're going to repeat. And now what you're going to do is a half double crochet. A half double crochet is yarn over your hook, and then you go into the next chain, but remember it's the back part of it, and you're going to pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook. And to complete it, we're going to yarn over and pull across 3 of them at the same time. And that's it. That's how to do a one half double crochet. So next one is the slip stitch. So go into that chain and then put a loop on your hook and pull across those 2 loops. That's it. And a half double crochet, yarn over, go into that chain, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull across all 3 of them. So that's the pattern you're going to follow till you get to your end of your chain, and I'll meet you there and I'll show you what to do next. We completed doing that for row 1. We did the pattern of a slip stitch and a half double crochet, and we end off with the half double crochet at the end of row 1. And what we're going to do, so we know this is the front of our work, we're just going to like eyeball it and put our stitch marker in the front. So when we talk about the front of our work, we know we have it marked. So now we're going to start row 2. And to start row 2, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and it's the same pattern that we did for row 1, we're going to do for row 2. So what you're going to do is that first stitch right there, we're going to slip stitch into it. And again, the slip stitch is go into that stitch and then pull across with that loop that we put on our hook. And that's it. And then the half double crochet is yarn over before you go into the next stitch and pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over. To complete it, pull across. So that's it. That's the same pattern that we did for row 1, we're going to do for row 2. We completed row 1. We have our 44 stitches. So for row 2 and the completion of it, you also going to have your 44 stitches. So just keep on working till you get to the end of the row, and I'll meet you there with that pattern. So now we made it to the end of row 2, and we have our 44 stitches, and you end off with the half double crochet. So for row 3, chain 1, and the same pattern again we're going to do, and you're going to do this for row 3 and row 4. So I'll show you again the pattern, because you chain 1, and in the first stitch right there, slip stitch is yarn over, and then you're going to pull across those 2 loops. That's it. And then the half double again is yarn over, and you go into that next stitch right there. Go into that stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, you're going to pull across all 3 of them. That's it. Hopefully you could see the yarn and where you put the stitches from the tutorial, but when you do it, you could feel it and you could see it yourself, so it's better then. So just give it a try, and it's just the slip stitch and the half double right there, and you're going to do that to the end of the row, remember, and then you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. So I'll meet you at the completion of row 4. So we are at our last stitch for row 4 with our half double crochet, and we're going to chain 1, and of course we completed row 4 at the back of our work because we're turning now, and we're going to go to the front of our work because we have our little marker right there. So the pattern for row 5 and 6, you're just going to put 1 half double crochet into each of our stitch. So it's going to be 44 at the completion of each row you do, row 5 and row 6. So the half double is yarn over before you go into that stitch, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull across. And that's the pattern for row 5 and row 6. So when you complete that, I meet you at the end of row 6. So we complete row 6 with the pattern of just the half double crochet. So row 7, chain 1, turn your work, and now for row 7 all the way up to row 10. So you're going to do it the pattern 4 times. You're going to do what we did for row 2, and again the pattern for row 2 is you're going to slip stitch into that first stitch right there. Slip stitch again is just yarn over and pull across, and then the half double crochet, yarn over before you go into that stitch and pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull across. That's it. So that was the pattern for row 2. So you're going to do that, remember, 4 times. So it's row 7 through row 10, and always have your 44 stitches, and I'll meet you there. So now we did that, the pattern for 4 times, and we're at the end of row 10. So row 11, chain 1, and you turn your work, and the pattern now for row 11 and 12, we're just going to do what we did for row 5, is do 1 half double crochet in each stitch, and you're going to have at the end of your row always going to have your 44 stitches. Okay, so when you finish that, I'll meet you at row 12. Did that for 2 times our pattern for 11 and row 12. So we're at the end of row 12. So row 13, you chain 1, and we're going to turn our work. So this is our pattern and how it looks. I think it looks pretty nice. I like it. I like it. Now the pattern that we're going to be doing for row 13 all the way up to row 6 is we're going to repeat these 2 rows. We're going to repeat the row that we do 4 rows of our pattern of the slip stitch and a half double crochet, and then the 2 rows of just the half double crochet. Now we made it up to row 16. So to complete that row, because that was the repeat of those 2 rows with the 1/2 double crochet. So, and you have your 44 stitches. So all you're going to do is just chain 1 and pull up a nice size little loop, because we're going to tuck it in later and cut it off. I grab my scissors and cut it off, and I'll show you what to do next. Now we're going to start the front panels of our cardigan, and we're going to make 2 of them exactly like. So I'm only going to show you how to make 1. So to start off, we're going to do our slip knot stitch, and then we're going to do 21 chain. So a chain again is just yarn over and pull through, 1, yarn over and pull through, 2, yarn over and pull through. So do that for 21 times, and I'll meet you there. So we did our 21 chain. So now the same thing that we did to start off the back panel, we're going to do for the front panel. I'll show you again though. So you skip that first stitch right there, and the second chain, we're going to put the slip stitch. So again, we're using the back part of our chain, not the front. And then slip stitch is just pull across. And then yarn over, and then you go into the next one, be the back of the chain right there. Because this is like the front of the chain, but we're going to do that little back bump. And that's it. So the pattern is the same. So you're going to do a slip stitch and a half double. So you're going to do that all the way till you get to the end, and I'll meet you there, and that will be the completion of round 1. And then completion of round 1, you have your 20 stitches. So keep on working, and I'll meet you there. So we completed doing that pattern, and we have our 20 stitches. So now for row 2, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work and do the exact same thing that we did for row 1. But before we do, let's just put our little marker, our stitch marker, so we could know it's in the front. And like I said, it's just eyeball it where it is in the middle. So again, the pattern is you turn it, and that first stitch right there, you're gonna slip stitch, and then the next, we're gonna do the half double. And that's it. That's the pattern again. So keep on working with that, and I'll meet you again at the end of this row. We completed doing that for row 2. So chain 1, remember, and turn your work, and that's it. So again, I love the little pattern, how it comes out in the shape. So I'll show you again the first stitch right there to start row 3, and then of course you're going to do this pattern for row 3 and row 4. Okay, so you go right there. You see, it's like almost, if you see when we were working with it, the stitch was kind of hidden with this loop over it, but it's right there. So that's your first slip stitch right there, and then in this stitch right there, that will be your half double. Just want to make sure you see it. See, it has that loop, but you're going to go like underneath and slip stitch, and then the half double. So that's it for row 3 and row 4. So keep on working with that, and I'll meet you there. We did that pattern for row 3 and row 4, and now we're going to start row 5. So you chain 1 and then you turn your work. So row 5 and row 6, you're going to repeat the same pattern. It's the half double crochet. You're going to put 1 half double crochet, so you end off with your 20 stitches. And then moving forward with row 7 through 10, you're going to follow up with the pattern we just did in doing a slip stitch and then the half double crochet. You're going to work with this pattern of repeating those 2 sets of rows. The row that we do with the slip stitch and half double, so you do that 4 times, and then the row with the just the half double crochet 2 times. You work up till you get to row 23, and I'll meet you there and I'll show you what to do next. So now we made it up to row 23. And this is how we look so far. So for row 23, what we're going to do is just going to do that row of the 1/2 double crochet. And when you get to the end, I'll meet you there. And remember, it's 20 stitches you're going to have. So we completed that for row 23. So now row 24, you're going to chain 1, turn our work. And now we're going to do, for the first 4 stitches, we're going to put 1/2 double crochet. So do that and I'll meet you there, okay? So we did that. We put 4 half double crochet in those 4 stitches. So now we're going to start shaping out the pocket. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 12 and keep the chain a little loose. 1, 2, 3. Continue going with that chain till you get 12, and I'll show you what to do next. So we did our 12 chain. So what we're going to do now, we're going to skip 12 of our stitches. You see, you can see them better now. So you're going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the next stitch right here, we're going to join back our chain. So now we're going to attach our chain back to our work. So we're going to do a half double. So make sure you yarn over before you go into it. Go into that stitch and then you pull up a loop. Then you have those 3 loops. Make sure your chain stays straight and then yarn over to complete it. And that's it. And for the remaining stitches you have, you just put 1 half double crochet and I'll meet you at the end. So we completed putting that 4 half double crochet to the end. So now for row 25, chain 1, turn our work. And now we're going to start the pattern of the slip stitch and the half double row. And when we get to the chain, I'll show you what to do. So that's another slip stitch right here. And the next one is between like the edge of that chain we started. So go on the bottom, and it's the half double. So now we're going to get into the little, see the little bumps that we have to the bottom of our chain. We're going to work with those. What I do is, because it gets a little hard to get it, I just use a smaller hook size, and that's what I do. So now we're gonna, the next pattern is that slip stitch. So go into the bottom, the little bump that we started, you know, when we started our pattern and our chain, and then pull across. So that's how I just use a smaller hook size to get it. So that's all you're gonna do with the chain. You're gonna treat it like we're doing the regular stitches that we have, okay? And that's it. So keep on working with that. So the next chain on the bottom will be that slip stitch, and then you have the next bump on the bottom of the chain will be that half double. So keep on working with that pattern till you get to the end. I'll show you what to do next of the chain. Okay, so we're right at the end, and now we're going to do that half double. You see it has that little gap, so that's like the bottom of it, of that chain that we join back our work, and then just complete it by putting, that's it. And then follow the pattern till you get to the end. So the next one will be the slip stitch, and that's how it is when we make the opening for our pocket. So now we're going to start row 26. So you're going to chain 1 and then turn your work. And you're going to follow the same pattern for row 26, 27, 28. We're going to do it an additional 3 times because we started this row as that pattern. So that will make it 4 times we did it. So now to continue moving up till we get the length of our front panel, what we need it to be, you're going to work with the pattern till you get up to row 60, like how we did the back panel. So after you finish the row with the slip stitch and the half double, you're going to do the rows with 2 rows with the half double, and then you follow back again doing the rows with the slip stitch and the half double, and you do that till you get up to row 60, and I'll meet you there. When you get to row 60, it will be the row with the 2 half double. You will repeat twice those rows. So hopefully I explained it right. You understand? Anyway, so I'll meet you there, and keep on working. Take your time. And you see with the pattern that we did for the opening of our pocket, just take your time with it. So we made it all the way up to the end of row 60, and at the end of row 60 we have our 20 stitches, and we did those 2 rows of repeat of the half double crochet. So now you're going to chain 1, and you're going to pull up a nice tail. Give it about 18 to about 20 inches because we're going to use the tail later on to sew our pieces together. So I grab my scissors, I cut off my yarn, and I'll show you what to do next. So we're going to start making our sleeves now, and of course we're going to make 2 of them exactly alike, and I'm only going to show you how to make 1. I already did my slip stitch, so we're going to chain 33, and when we finish doing those 33 chain, I'll show you what to do next. So we did that for 33 times. So the same thing we've been doing again for the back panel and for the front panel. We're going to go to the side or the back of the little bump of our chain, and you're not going to go to that first chain that's there. You're going to go to the second chain that's right here, and you're just going to put a slip stitch. So that's the pattern that we're doing, and the half double. So work with that pattern till you get to the end of the chain, and I'll show you what to do next, and that's for row 1. So we completed doing that pattern for row 1, and in the completion of row 1 we have our 32 stitches. So now for row 2, you chain 1 and you turn your work, and you're going to follow that same pattern for 3 more times where you put the slip stitch and then the half double crochet. Also remember too to put our stitch marker in the front so we don't forget where our right side is, but by now you know, you could tell, but just put your little marker there and you continue working. So you're going to repeat the same pattern that we've been doing for the back panel and for the front panels, the 2 of them. You're going to do the same thing again. So you're going to keep on repeating those 2 rows of the slip stitch and then the half double crochet 4 times, and also too you're going to repeat the row that has just 1 half double crochet across for 2 times. So keep on repeating those rows till you get all the way up to row 34, and I'll show you what to do next. So we made it all the way up to row 34, and we have our 32 stitches. So to complete this row, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to pull up a nice size tail about 40 to 50 inches so we could use that tail to sew it on. So now we're going to make the lining for our pocket. So I already did my slip knot stitch. Now we're going to chain 17. So just keep on doing 17 chain, and I'll meet you there. So now we completed doing our 17 chain, and remember you're going to have to make 2 of the pocket lining, but I'm only going to show you how to do 1. So with that first chain that's next to our hook, we're not going to use that one. We're going to go to the second one that's right here, and we're using the back of our chain, and you're just going to single crochet is go into that chain, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over to complete it, and pull across. That's it. So you're going to keep on doing this pattern till the end of the row, and that will be row 1. All right, I'll show you another time. Go into the chain, the back part we're using, and pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull across. One more time. Go into the back part, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over to complete it, pull across. So keep on doing that till you get to the end, and I'll show you what to do next. So now we completed doing that for round 1, and at the completion of round 1 you have 16 stitches. So now you're going to chain 1 and turn your work, and for row 2 the pattern is you're going to do 1 single crochet all the way across. Okay, a single crochet again is go into that stitch, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull across. Again, I show you, go into that stitch, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull across. And that's it. That's the pattern. And you're going to do this pattern till you get all the way up to row 20. So I'll meet you at row 20 and I'll show you what to do next. That's it. We made it up to row 20 by doing 1 single crochet in each stitch, and that will make you have your 16 stitches at the end of row 20. So to complete it, just chain 1. So pull up a nice tail about 50 to 60 inches because we're going to use that tail to sew around the edges of our pocket lining, and that's how much yarn we need. We're going to start sewing our pieces together. We're going to sew the back panel to the front panel. I'm going to show you how to do 1, and you're going to do 2 of them, of course. So to start off with, how you line them up to sew them together is the back panel we have facing down, and the front panel we have it facing towards us, because the tail that we have left, we're going to mattress stitch up the edge of the shoulder, and that's where we're going to sew it together, the top. Because I want to show you, just move into the camera view, see where our marker is for our front panel. It's here, and then our back panel, see, it's facing the other way. So the front part of our back panel is underneath, and we're going to sew it that way. Okay, so make sure you have it that way, and then I'm going to start showing you. I'm trying to get everything in the camera view so you can see it. We're going to sew up the shoulder edge. So I'm going to grab my yarn needle and I'll attach it to my yarn, and then we could start sewing it on. So now what you could go ahead and do, you could go ahead and put a little stitch marker so you could hold it together while you work at the last 2 loops of our shoulder for the top. Okay, so now we have the yarn that we left over, the nice tail, and I have my yarn needle. So what we're going to do, as I mentioned, we're going to use the mattress stitch. So this is how you mattress stitch. Make sure you line them up together. You could add more stitch markers so it could help hold it together. All right, so you're going to line them up. Make sure you have them nice and straight. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into underneath the loops from the yarn that's attached to this side. We're going to go over to the other side, and we're just going to start pull it nice, give it a nice tug. And then we're going to go back, but we're going to come underneath in the next stitch. Pull it, and then we're going to pull as we go along. I'll show you how to do it, but I just want to keep on showing you how to do. Go back over the next loops right there. So that's all you're going to do, just go back under and then go back over the other side where we started from. Loop, and then what you're going to do, turn it towards you, hold on to it, and just tighten as you go. Pull on it, and that makes it nice and tight. Okay, so I'll show you some more times how to do it. So we were over here, so now go back under, and then come out here. If it helps you to understand, it's like lacing up your shoe. Okay, so back over into that next stitch, or loops of stitch that we have, come back over, and that's all you're going to do till you get to the end. But remember, as you go along, put it facing you, hold on to it, and give it a nice little tug as you go, and that will hold it nice and neat. So that's what I'm going to do till I get to the end of where my stitch marker is, and that's it. And I'll show you what to do next. So keep on doing that. So go underneath from the top, well, from the other side, and then you come out and you go underneath again. All right. So now I took out my stitch marker. That was my guide to the end, and I'm here now, the end. So what I'm going to do is just start weaving inside. So this is inside our shoulder, or top shoulder. So I'm just going to start weaving in and hiding our tail, and that's it. So I do, you know, of course, when you do it, you give it a nice tug, but not too tight that it leaves, you know, it gets that snug look. You want it to have a nice closure, but not that it's wrinkled or messed up. You get to feel it. You get to see it when you do it yourself. You get to see it, okay? So we're going to go in and weave it in. And we're going to go up some and come down some and up and down. I like to do that a couple of times. That's why I say I like the nice long tail, so we get to hide it. And then what you're going to do too is also hide the tail that we left when we cut off from the back panel. So tuck those in, tuck all of them the same way, hide them in as best as you can. And like I said, the long nice tail, you get to play around with it. And when you tuck it in, make sure that when you hide your tail, it doesn't come out in the top. It doesn't show in the top. So just keep on hiding your tail in, and I'll show you what to do next. So we did that. We attached our two front panels to our back panel. So now what we're going to do, we're going to attach the sleeve to our project. So what we're going to do is we're going to line it up, and it's going to be the right side, because this is the right side. We have our little marker of our sleeves, and we have it between the shoulder area, because this is where we did our mattress stitch. So you're going to line it up right to the middle, and you're going to make sure you put little stitch markers so it could help us hold it together while we sew it. And of course, I attached my yarn needle already to my yarn, so we're going to start sewing. I'm going to show you the mattress stitch again a little bit because I showed you earlier, and I'm going to show you how to do one sleeve, and then you do the other one by yourself. Okay, so just line it up, make sure it's in the center, and they fit half and half of the sleeve from where we did the mattress stitch for the shoulder to add on the front panel to our back panel. Okay, so put stitch markers in so they could guide you. Okay, so grab as many stitch markers as you want, take your time with it, line it up. I'm just putting it here now so you can see for the video, but make sure you line them up good and just keep on adding so we have it straight. And you're going to do this to make sure that before you sew it on, two of them matches when you're lining them up before you start sewing them on, because we need them to be in the center. Okay, this is how it should look when you get ready to sew it together. What could help too, so you could know how to or where to place our sleeve to start sewing on, you could measure it with your measuring tape, and then you could see from the size that you have and just divide it, and then you know if it's centered, if it's even on both ends from where we did the shoulder seam. Okay, so again with the mattress stitch, and to reminder how we have it is the right side of our sleeve and the right side of our back panel is facing us. So that's how you're going to sew it on. Okay, hopefully you understand what I'm saying or explaining it correctly. And that's how we're going to start sewing it on. So again, remember the mattress stitch, you go under, because we have our yarn already attached. Just pull it and then go back and go under the two loops that we started from, And then come back over and find 2 loops. And back over under 2 loops. And then back over under 2 loops. And remember, when you stop for a little bit and just give it a little tug, face it to you, give it a tug. And then go back underneath and find 2 loops. Come back over, find the 2 loops. And that's it for the mattress stitch. So you're going to do that till you get to where you add on, where I have my little marker. So that will be the end of our sleeve. So just do that for 2 of them, and when you finish that, I'll meet you there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sew up the edges of the sleeves and the edges of our cardigan. So what I did already, I placed our little stitch marker to help us, guide us as we go. So everything is going to be facing us when we're sewing it, the right side, because I still have my little stitch marker as the right side, because if you're laying it flat, it would be on the right side, but since we're going to sew it, it's like you hold it to the edge. So just want to let you know that. So go ahead and just put your little stitch marker around to help hold it, because we're going to do the edge. And this is how it should look when we're getting ready to sew up the side. And just to show you, I did the other side already. So this side already sewed up. This is how it looks when I sew up the sleeves. And when I sew up the side of our cardigan up to the armpit area and down the edges. So I already sewed it, and I see I still have my little stitch marker to show me, because if we're laying flat, they're both on the right side of our work. But when you sew it up, you just hold it like this. And I'll show you in a minute how to start it and where we're going to start to sew it up. Start sewing in the end of our cardigan at the edge. We don't have any yarn attached, so we have to get a yarn now, and we're going to make sure that we get enough. So you cut off about 110 to 120 inches of our yarn, because we have to go all the way up and we have to come back around till we finish at the end of our sleeves. So you're going to have enough to do that. So cut off that, attach it to your yarn needle, and I start showing you what to do. So now I cut off my yarn that I'm going to use. So we're going to start sewing. And like I said, we weren't attached, so I'll show you. What you're going to do is insert your needle from the inside, because we're going to try to anchor it or secure it to our work. Going to take a while to pull up and keep a nice little tail, because we're going to tuck that in later too. And bring it here across, because what we're going to do is the same thing, the mattress stitch that we've been doing as when we did the shoulder and attach the sleeve. Bring it together. See, and keep this part inside, because you're going to attach that inside later on. And then bring it back under to right where we started, where we attached the first piece of yarn. Bring it back over there. And then just keep on pulling and pulling and pulling. It's going to be a little bit before you get there. But it's better to have the long yarn. And then it's like, see, it's nicely anchored. And now you could start doing the mattress stitch. And again, the mattress stitch, this one is a little different because we don't have the double row of our, how you could seat of the loops, because we are doing the pattern of the slip stitch and the half double. So just gauge it as you go, but try to pick up 2 strands of yarn as you go along. Okay, so that's about it for that. And then you're going to take your time, because you have to go all the way to get to where we have our sleeve in. That's how far. And then when you finish that, you're going to see how it comes together. It's going to look really nice. Remember again, the mattress stitch is just go under. Yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get there, pull out. And then go back under, and that's it. So just keep on doing that. And when you finish that, I'll meet you at the other part. So we made it all the way to the end of our sleeve. So what you're gonna do is just tuck it inside, and then you're gonna weave it in, okay? We still have a nice, pretty good tail left. So all you do now is just weave it in. Just weave it in. And then remember, go up and down, make sure it stays in very nice. And like I said, you have a nice tail, you could give it that. So that's it. So we did that, we tucked in our ends, and we sewed up our sleeve edge and the sides of our cardigan. And we did great work. We see how nice it came out. We have a cardigan, yeah. But now the fun part, let's sew on our pocket. Yeah, the fun part, our pocket. So now I sewed on the other one already. So this is how it looks. So now I'm going to show you how to do this one, because you do the same thing from this one to that one. On our pocket, we're going to sew it on in the wrong side, because as you see, this is the right side of our work, so we're going to sew it in the wrong side of our work. What I did already, I just took our stitch marker and line it out so it stays nice when we sew it, and we of course we have our yarn attached to it, so that helps too. So we're just gonna do a regular sewing around our pocket, and that's it. I'll show you how to do that. So I attached my yarn needle to the yarn. So now we have the tail. So we come right to the edge, and we're just gonna pull up a loop of yarn so we could anchor it, and we do not go through the front of it, of our pattern, okay? So I'm going to turn it so I can show you. So now we're going to do, just like I said, regular sewing. So now you're going to go back. See, it has the opening of where we did our single crochet. So we're going to use those. And remember, just pull up a loop of yarn from the back, not the front. That's it. And just give it a little tug as you go along, not too tight, because we don't want it to get on shape. And then follow along, like I said, the little grooves that we have. And then pick up another, and then go back into that one that we just came from. And that's all we're going to do to attach our pocket. And one thing, remember, when you attach your pocket, make it an inch on the top opening of your pocket. See, I put it because the opening is here and right there, so an inch above when you do it. All right, so pick up a loop of yarn before you go back in there, just pull it, and that's it. And then when you get back to here, just since you already have it attached to your yarn needle, just tuck it in, and that's it. Cut it off, and then I'll show you what to do next. So now we did that, we sewed on our pocket, and I didn't mention if it was the right side or the wrong side of the pocket we sewed on to the inside, because I figured by now you figured out how to do that. But I did do it on the right side when we started our work, so just so you know. So now what we're going to do, we're going to attach a new yarn to the corner edge of our pocket, because we're going to slip stitch around, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so now give it a nice little tail so we could tuck it in later, and we're going to pull up the yarn right here on the side. So pull up a loop of yarn, see we have that tail, keep it inside for now, and you're going to chain one to hold it in place, and that's the start. Okay, so now we have the nice markers of our stitch that we did previously, so that could help us to start off with. So you're going to put what you're going to do for that first stitch right there, you're going to slip stitch, and we're going to slip stitch all around the pocket. I'll show you how to do them. So slip stitch again, because that's what we've been doing with our pattern and the half double. Just pull across that loop, and that's it. What we're going to do, we're going to put a stitch marker there so we know where we started. So the next one, remember, it's just a slip stitch around the pocket, and that's it. When you get to the corner right here, I'll show you what to do. So we got to the corner, so we're just gonna treat it as a regular stitch and just do a slip stitch right there. The next one is up here. It's just gonna be like one strand that we're gonna be working with, okay? Makes it a little easier. So when you come around, it's like the top, it's a little tight, so get it in there. I know it looks like 2, but since this is the number 6 of our bulky yarn, it's not 2 strands, but it's just that 1 strand we're going to pull up. It's a little tight, like I said, but keep on working with it till you get back to your stitch marker, and I'll show you what to do next. So we placed our last slip stitch where we pulled up the yarn from. So now what you're going to do is pull up a nice tail, and then we're going to cut it off, and I'll show you what to do next. So now I cut off my yarn. I have my yarn needle attached. So where we have our stitch marker, what we're going to do, we're going to skip that slip stitch. We're going to go to the next one, and you're going to go under the 2 loops and pull it. And then we're going to go back to like where we were and go to the center, just the center of that stitch, because we're going to weave it in now. You could take out the stitch marker now and just bring it inside. See, makes it looks nice, makes it look like another slip stitch we're going to do. Okay, and just weave in the tail that we started with, just weave them inside. You could bend the pocket, it could go. Stuck it in like you've been doing before, and that's it. How our pocket opening looks now, looks pretty nice. We're almost there. So now we're going to start crocheting around the collar of our cardigan, and we're going to start at the right front corner, and we're going to end off with the left front corner, and that will be row 1. So open up the stitch right there, and we're just going to pull up a loop of yarn just like we did for the pocket. Give it a nice little tail, because we're going to tuck it in later. All right, and you're going to chain 1 to hold it in place, and just tighten it against your work. And in that same spot we just put that, we added that new yarn, you're going to just do 1 single crochet. And that's it. I'm going to put the stitch marker in so I know. If you could know, that's fine, but I put my stitch marker in, and we're going to do 1 single crochet around. So go ahead and place 128 single crochets around. And when you're going around, you're going to try to pick up 2 loops of yarn as you go. And you just gauge it as you go, because it's like, it looks funny. It's like, where do you put it? Where do you put it? But just because it's the pattern that we have, so we just want to give it, we don't want to put too many stitches into it, because then it will make it floppy. So that's why we would give it a little space between when we do the next single crochet, okay? And try to pick up 2 loops as you go along. So that's it. We made it to the end of row 1, and we have our 128 stitches. So now for row 2 and row 3, we're going to do the same thing. It's just chain 1. You're going to turn your work, and you're going to put 1 single crochet into each stitch we did from row 1, and you're going to come back over to where we started with our stitch marker. Okay, so for row 3, you end up back over here. So I'll meet you there, and I'll show you what to do next. Made it back to the left front corner, and that's the completion of round 3. So all you're going to do is pull up a nice tail because we're going to tuck it in. So, and that's it. Get my scissors, cut it off. And I'll show you what to do next. So we're going to hide our tail just like we did when we did the pocket. So our stitch marker would have been here. So we go to the next 2 loops, go under. Then you go back to where the yarn is coming from in the middle and go through that. And there you go. And that's how we hide it. Now you're going to tuck it in, and all the other ends that you have out, tuck them in and take off your stitch marker. And that's it. Thanks for watching. You did great work. Our pocket full of cardigan is all completed. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.